why don't we start with character introductions? So let's start off with you there, Julong.
I am Julong, Dragon Elementalist. My personality is impetuous. My motto is I am dangerous. I have the goal of eliminate the Flaming Fist Gang, and I have the goal of eliminate the mercenaries.
Sounds good. And next up is Tamra Jin.
Yes, Tamara Jin, Mayor of Yuchin. Motto is actions speak louder than words.
Sounds good. And last but not, third in the list here is Shenglu Po.
Hello, I'm Shenglu Po, Weasel Vagrant Warrior. My motto is, it's not that the well is too deep, it's that the rope is too short. And I have the same goals as the others.
And let's hope that you never get to the end of your rope. And last but not least, we have our stripy tiger slaver.
Hello, I am Yu Wei, the Tiger Slaver. My motto is I can move mountains, and I have the same goals as everyone else.
All right, so last time we left the game with a scrap on the road to the secondary town up the river, and our intrepid heroes managed to stop a group of the Firestrike gang from making off with some slaves or some captured people. One of them was not so lucky, though. And however, you did manage to. One of the hired mercenaries is like bleeding out and dying. The other that you managed to capture was a member of the gang themselves who's pretty badly injured, but he's not going to die, at least immediately. So,
No, I already
Yes.
saved his life.
okay, so yep, he's stabilized at least, but yeah, he's in a bad shape. If I recall, we didn't do like the loot, so the mercenary has on his person 10 bukuan, and the gang member, well, I'll do a roll for him. He only has 3. So 13 boo from that dust up there. And we'll take it from here.
All right.
Yes, Lu Wei also came back with one of the slaves and covered in blood.
Tamara's going to go ahead and approach the slaves that are captured here and sort of ask if they're all right, who they are, where they came from, how they ended up in the situation.
Okay, so the 3 slaves, there are 2 mice, and one of them or 2 mice in a bowl. But it sounds like they came from the village that you're trying to get to. They're pretty young. They look like maybe 14 or 15. And one of the mice is completely white-faced, and she will not speak a word, and she seems rather afraid of Lu Wei.
Gee,
But
I
it
can't
sounds
imagine why.
it sounds as though things are getting pretty violent up north. The next town over was that it's before the call for workers went out. They only had maybe 50 people, and they've kind of been down to maybe 25 or 30, and women and children are all that's left. So they're getting hit pretty bad. Didn't used to be this bad, but then they started taking an interest in slave taking.
Seems to be their game now.
Yep.
So quite a lot of chaos going up. Don't suppose much of the village is actually still intact right now, is it?
They say that it should be. There was a raid that just took place There was this really ugly turtle guy who brought in a bunch of, I guess, at least 4 or 5 mercenaries along with the regular, matching the description that you know of them, chainmail wearing guys, along with at least a dozen of the Firestrike gang members. They demanded something from the mayor. He refused, and then when that happened, they all just sort of converged and took away, grabbed what they could and left. And these 3 were, young adults or kids that were unfortunate in that they didn't make it to the elders' house in time.
Did they take any others, or just you lot?
So we're not sure. Maybe, probably.
Well, I'm glad we intercepted them when we did.
And she says, "Yes, we're very happy for that. Thank you. Please take us away from there."
Well, we'll be heading into the village. I'll make sure you return to your families as soon as possible.
And they kind of look apprehensive, like, "Oh, it's getting unsafe there, but I guess so."
Well, we'll
Can't we
have
just
to go
go with
there
you?
one way or another. We'll have to see what we can do at the village when we get there.
Okay. So Tamra's chatting up the now freed slaves or peasants. What are the rest of the party doing?
The 2 captured people are unconscious. So make sure they're restrained for when they come.
Well, I mean, you're the one with the rope.
Yeah, so that's my thing, is tying people up. Anyone else got any activities?
Well, are there any chance that my first aid kit would come with some version of smelling salts?
Roll a d10. Well, in this case, your first aid kit does have a dose of something that would wake somebody up, yeah.
Alright, well then I'm gonna wake this mercenary back up.
Okay. He kind of startles up and regains consciousness. He's kind of dizzy, and since he's tied up, he kind of lurches forward to throw up. But he's conscious.
Yeah, I mean, I'll put my arm across his chest to allow him the space he needs to lean forwards and let it all out.
Yep, he retches and throws up and goes, "Gah!" Like, yeah.
I pat him on the back. That's alright, buddy. Get it all out there.
He throws up and then realizes he's tied up and like, "Gah! What do you want?"
Well, I've spared your life. I figure that means you owe me a favor, at the least.
He kind of glowers at you and says, "What do you mean?"
Well, I mean, your life has to be worth something, right?
Obviously.
Right. So the least you could do to repay me for not killing you is to help me out a little bit.
What do you want?
Oh, your mercenaries that are coming from the town up there. That's a real problem. And I'd rather not have to fight my way through all of you. So if you could just help me figure out how to get to the person in charge, I'm just good letting you go.
You mean Lieutenant Gray?
Yeah. What's the fastest way that I could get to Lieutenant Gray?
He kind of thinks for a minute and says, "I don't know, the lieutenant kind of keeps to himself. He really just hangs out with this leader of the group there." Think his song why?
Somewhere specific?
I don't know. I go out and run tasks and, pretty much go wherever the turtle wants me to go.
Well, I assume you got hired, right? So you met him?
Yeah, the lieutenant is the one in charge, but he like I said, he hangs out with Sung Wei, the leopard who's in charge of this group.
Okay.
He mostly associates with him. We just go out and do the dirty work.
And where do they hang out?
He kind of stops and says, well, I wouldn't recommend going in full force if that's your idea.
I'm getting information. That's why I'm asking you.
What other skills would you have to convince me that it's worth giving that information up?
He's tied up. I could kill him. That's the thing.
Then perhaps a presence roll to
No,
intimidate him?
I would rather not. I would rather just let that hang in the air without having to be said.
He kind of looks at you and says, look, obviously I don't want to get killed here, but I'm a professional. If you really want to know where the hideout is, I can certainly let you know, but it's your funeral.
You're a professional, and I respect that. But you're not a soldier. You work for the money and your life, and I'm offering you your life back. So just let me know what I need to know, and we can just go our separate ways. I hold no grudge against you for doing what you were paid to do.
Well, so the question, I guess, is, did you like pull him out of his armor?
No, I mean, unless I had to, because again, you first aided this guy, so he didn't die because of that.
Right. So, well, if you took him out he says, well, here's the thing. If I don't come back out with my equipment, I'm going to get in serious trouble. So you want to kick me to the curb, that's fine, but I'm taking my armor and weapons.
I got no problem with that either. I mean, technically, we didn't do loot, so technically never to strip this guy.
We just took their money so far.
Yeah. That's as easy as reaching into their pockets. Stripping them would be different. All I'm assuming is that this guy's just been tied up and that's it.
Yeah, that's what I was under the impression too, but I didn't know if you took him out of his armor to treat his wounds or something.
I didn't, anyway.
What kind of armor does he have?
Why would we treat his wounds?
I treated his wounds so that I would have an inn so we could get more information about the mercenaries.
Well, they all are equipped with chainmail. They've all had long swords. It looks like they've been equipped better off than most. But as he says, okay, well, here's the thing. My employer, Fumai, if you take her stuff and don't come back with it, she will find you.
You're wearing your armor. This is a folly of a conversation. I don't know where you're going with this.
So it's like, I'm happy to tell you what you want. You want to let me go? Fine, but I have to come. I'm not. They're probably gonna, they're gonna mothball me since I'm in this horrible situation. Like, since I'm fucked up, ostensibly. But yeah, they'll just cancel my pay. I pity the poor guy who tries to return without his armor.
Alright, here's what's gonna happen.
We know a guy like that.
Here's what's gonna happen. I'm gonna let you go, and you're gonna go back to the camp, and you're going to tell them something else. Tell them that there is a state militia unit out here clearing the road of bandits. Wasn't us. There's a bigger threat on the way.
Oh, I see. Okay. I can certainly, well, if I get back to the lieutenant, I'll let him know.
Don't you think that'll cause them to come out in full force?
It'll also make them abandon their camp.
But we have to trust this guy.
He's a working class Joe. What's wrong?
Well, the sort of working class Joe that has pretty loose morals.
I'm just gonna, like, squint at you for a moment, like, do you understand the words that are coming out of your mouth right now?
Yeah. I mean,
I'm gonna look up at you, and I'm gonna untie him.
I wouldn't trust me. Why should I trust him?
I mean, that's fair.
I'm with the weasel on this one.
Okay. But I'm still untying him.
Well, I suppose this would be the mayor's authority.
Yes. What does our mayor say about this?
I think we need to keep information low and maybe keep a couple cards in our hands. Maybe we could at least strike a deal if we have enough hostages.
You still got the other guy.
I mean, honestly, even if this guy does what you say, a bunch of people already escaped from this fight who would have not been fed information by you and would make it back before him.
Right, but he got captured, which means that he has a different story that might be better. They ran from something.
He also knows the story you told him is a lie.
Okay.
Maybe.
Should have just gone with the lie.
You're certainly causing some of their the group has been affected by your actions, so he doesn't know that.
I mean, he doesn't know who we represent either. Like I said, I'm untying him. If you guys want to just up and kill him or recapture him afterwards, go ahead, but I'm living up to my word.
Well, he kind of looks at you oddly and's like, all right, well, fine. He takes a stick in the dirt and kind of draws like a crude outline of the island, draws a little line that represents the river and shows, okay, we're about here. And then up in the mountains, he draws a little X and says, that's where they're at. Thereabouts. About 3 days away from here.
Very good.
But like I said, you want to go up in there, that's your business, but don't be surprised if you end up killed.
Our new friend is probably right. It would be foolish. But we have time.
By the way, how much were they paying you?
That's a matter for the lieutenant. See, I have a contract.
So you signed up for work that you don't know exactly how much you were going to get paid?
I don't handle the books, but it's been pretty lucrative. You get salvage rights.
On
Better
children.
than where it came from, at least.
Undoubtedly, a crew like his works with the leader, providing the share of the loot.
More or less, yeah. It's more that whoever signed the contract probably said a set amount to whoever's in charge, and at the end of it, they'll get paid. But that
Precisely.
probably varies. But
Still,
with
if you've
salvage
said-
rights, you can go out and just pick corpses.
No. Familiar.
Still, if you're convinced that he'll do as you said, then we should perhaps continue to the village.
Of course.
So,
Yes,
what about just...
We do have another prisoner also.
That's right, you have a gang member.
Right,
Who-
and he should know just about the same.
Well, he would know the gang stuff. The
Yeah, we
flaming
had
fist
one
stuff.
mercenary, one gang member.
And I failed to heal him. He just happened to survive on his own.
Yeah. Does anybody attempt to... Yeah, what are people doing?
I will attempt to give him sort of a brief interrogation and kind of just ask, what is Jan's plan? What is
What
he going to
skills
do
would you
next?
have to convince him to give up any other information?
I'll tell you, I am the mayor, and my sheer presence here should tell you that I'm taking this very seriously.
Sure, roll a presence check.
Alright, mind and presence, I suppose.
If you want to physically intimidate him, you can use your body, will, and presence.
Sure, I have a big, huge tiger right behind me here, do you
That's
really
true.
wanna take that chance? With one success, he might.
Well, with one success too, he kind of looks at you and says, I'm done talking.
Here, I'm willing to negotiate with you. I can afford you immediate release if you give us some information. We want to know what to expect, and you presumably don't want to be left here by the wayside tied up. I will
Okay.
grant you your freedom.
Is there any bonus in it for him for having the other guy see the mercenary leaving?
Yes. Since you're letting the mercenary go with his equipment, he's at least willing to. He's a little bit more receptive. But yeah, roll the dice.
Yeah, like see, we did this for the
Alright,
other guy.
Since this is a fast negotiation, should I add fast talk?
Absolutely.
There we go. So apparently I'm up to D12, 3D8 for that additional assistance letting someone else go already, and a D6.
Dang. Okay.
That's looking real nice.
With 4 successes, you're like, we're willing to let go the, negotiate your release and blah blah blah. And this time he's much more willing to talk. It seems like trying to bully him around is something he's used to. But he says, well, now that Mad Peng's out of the way, it sounds like the order is to get into slavery. I mean, ever since Jan showed up, that's where they wanted to go, but I guess that's what we're doing now. It's a lot more lucrative.
Right, of course. But where might he be acting next? Is he simply going
Next?
to return home? Or is he going to take these captives somewhere first?
Well, Songwei knows that Jan has buyers lined up, so I'd imagine they'll probably get sold off somewhere. We're just supposed to bring them back.
Ah, I see. So they are collecting them first. Would you happen to know where he might have buyers?
I don't know. That's all Jan's territory.
I see. I'll look over to the rest of the group, see if they have other questions or extensions on this. Going once, going twice.
What are you about?
What was that?
I said, what are you about?
Kind of looks at you and says, "What are you about? This used to be our island, and yeah, so we're just taking it back."
So, the flaming... just to be clear, this was a flaming fist guy, right?
Yeah, the Fire Strike gang member.
Oh, is it Fire Strike?
Yeah.
Why did I get flaming fist down?
I must have mispronounced it, but yeah, it's
Okay.
officially it's Fire Strike.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're just about taking the island back? Is that... So why are you taking other island inhabitants hostage?
He kind of looks at it and says,
Profitability.
Well, it kind of like talking to this guy kind of gives you like a vibe of like, yeah, we're just Confederates, South will rise again sort of thing. But in reality, it's also just about making money. It's like, yeah, this is lucrative.
They're your own kids.
I'm a leopard. These aren't leopards.
I mean, they're the future of the island. If you kill, or if you put them into slavery and they die in the harsh conditions of slavery, then who's gonna be left? Who's gonna take care of you when you get old?
I'll be rich. What do I care?
Yes, but you'll die alone.
Who are you, my mother?
Well, I mean, if you did this to the kids, I don't know what you did to your mother.
He kind of just glowers at you.
Where is your mother?
It's none of your business.
I'm just gonna walk away, shaking my head, looking sad.
Oh.
Alright then. Well, I suppose he has come through on his end, so we shall let him go as well.
Okay. You untie him and he just kind of limps off in the same direction that the mercenary went.
I don't feel good about letting that guy go.
Well, it got him to talk a little bit. Still, ultimately, we need to continue towards the village, see what we can do, and then perhaps form a plan from here on out. At this point, Tamara is like holding up like 3 hands to her head at the same time, just thinking, perhaps we need to negotiate our way out of this. Well, we'll see what happens at the village.
Does not appear to be our strong suit.
Okay. And anything else the other two want to do?
I'm
good.
not too bright and I'm not too good with negotiating. I'm good at scaring people, but that's about it.
Well, you succeeded in scaring one of the mouse girls. It's like she hasn't said a word since you brought her back.
My job here is done.
I suppose we should certainly bring the one who died with us. I'm sure they would appreciate having the body.
Okay, whose job is it to drag that around?
Villager, over this way. Bring me that beast of burden. We're just gonna throw this over the back.
Okay, that works. So, do you go at a brisk pace? Do you go at a regular pace?
Good question. I think. How far were we into the journey? I think like a day by now?
Yeah, you've probably got another day or so to go.
Right, so I think the goal is to not exhaust our terribly unfit fighters.
Okay.
For
And,
a third time.
If I'm not mistaken, Zhulong also was injured in this fight.
Yeah, I was just double checking with the color man.
Yep.
Yep.
Our Slinky boy just managed to get hurt, so he, patches himself up and is okay, but yeah, you got injured.
So let's put 24 on the sick quota. Oh, injured quota.
So, okay. Well, you spend the day traveling, and since you're on the road and you're not trying to, go over cross country, it starts to get dark. And who wants to do? That's right. It was also starting to rain, so by now it's actually raining, fairly steadily. Not thunderstorming, but yeah, it's raining.
Yeah, the last time we slept, we got rained in. We made some shelter, I think.
Yep. So the 3 kids are pretty miserable. Even the Dre seems really soaked and unhappy. But do you do watches for the evening?
Sure.
I'm the one with night vision. I will take the midnight watch.
I'll take my beauty sleep this time, thank you.
I'll take first watch. I've got good observation.
You're going to sleep forever?
I guess I'll take.
He just sort of raises like
What?
4 eyebrows at you.
So each of you who's doing a shift, I guess, at the night watch, do a mind and observation.
3 successes.
Nice.
And
Okay.
one success for the others of us.
And I have 1 success.
Well, it seems like in the hostile territory there, everybody's kind of on pretty high alert. So looks like Lu Wei and Shenglu Pao, you keep an eye out, and everything is okay. Nothing seems to surprise you. But Zhulong, you actually in your shift notice there is, with 3 successes, you kind of literally just like turn and spot. There is a single leopard woman who has a waterproof cloak about her, and she's just watching you, but doesn't do anything. And if you just watch her in return, she just sort of stares at you, and then after maybe about 10 minutes, just leaves. But beyond that, there's nothing that happens.
Am I the only one awake on my watch, or is it we doing it in like twos or what?
I was under the impression one person was awake during
I
the
think
watch.
it's one at a time since we're.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll move to get up and go talk to her, I guess.
Okay. So let's see here. So with 3 successes, you kind of make your way over there, and when you approach her, she doesn't appear to like draw weapons or anything. She's mostly just watching you, and when you get closer, she kind of sizes you up, but does not appear to be violent.
It's a pretty nice cloak you've got there.
She kind of looks over at you and says, "Who exactly are you?"
I'm Zhulong. I come from the main island. And who are you?
She kind of says, "Oh, you'll find out eventually, I'm sure." Why are you here?
I'm gonna close my eyes for a moment and give out a sigh and say, is this how it's gonna be? Am I gonna ask you a question, you're going to dismiss me and then just keep asking more?
She kind of shrugs and says, "I don't know.
Sort
You
of
came out here."
Yes, but you came out here too, because you're right here. The least you can do is give me a back and forth. How about we start easy? Where did you get that nice cloak?
Well, it helps cover up my nice bow, and she kind of flashes a metal bow. I have lots of nice things.
Fair enough. Very well. Now, what was your question again?
Who are you, and what are you doing here?
I already answered who I was. I'm here because my father doesn't appreciate my company. He finds me to be a bit too rowdy. Why are you just standing out here in the middle of a rainstorm?
She kind of smiles and says, "Oh, just one of the perks of the job that I'm in." It's very strange that you let one of the mercenaries go, and one of the Flaming Strike gang members.
Only half of that was my decision. I respect a mercenary's right to live. They're just doing a job after all.
She kind of cocks her head and says, "So how many are coming?"
Ah, that was an answer. Now it's my turn. What is somebody who so clearly has money, with all of these nice things that you have, doing just watching a small encampment?
I prefer to. I'm not as hasty as others might be. I prefer to figure out what I'm up against.
Alright, I'm sorry. What was her last question?
So how many of them are coming?
Surely as many as they can afford.
She kind of rolls her eyes and say, "That's a non-answer."
Yes, but haven't they all been so far? My deepest apologies, and he'll like raise a hand to his chest, and he'll bow slightly. I forgot to ask your name.
She says, well, she initially said, "Don't worry, you'll find out in due course." But then she kind of it seems like she's amused a little bit and decides to humor you. Uh, well, I'm in a good mood, and she kind of does a bow herself. Shumai.
Ah, a pleasure to make your
Dun,
acquaintance.
dun, dun.
Do you tell her your name?
Oh, I already did. Like,
Yes.
twice.
So tell me, Zhulong, why are you here? What do you get from all of this? Like, what's the point?
I mean, honestly, what is the point in anything? I find that I've just wandered this life, doing what I can when I can.
So,
If you're asking what do I get out of it,
yep.
not much.
Well, maybe you're just on the wrong side.
I mean, what difference do the sides make?
Well, I find if you do things for yourself and not for others, you tend to have a more enjoyable life. Better to be the one holding the whip than being whipped. Wouldn't you agree?
It's a fair statement. At the same time, I don't tend to hang out to places where people are getting whipped. Well, that's not true. Maybe not whipping children.
She kind of wrinkles her nose and says, "Well, that wasn't my decision."
It may not have been your decision, but you are going along with it, are you not?
She nods. Yes. For now.
It just seems very distasteful.
She kind of pauses and thinks about it, but doesn't respond. Well, if you ever decide to change your mind, I'm sure you just need to ask.
And he'll tilt his head, like, in a nod, and I'll keep that in mind.
And she kind of, I guess, whatever the equivalent of tips fedora, and then takes off.
Safe travel to you.
Don't get shot.
Too late.
You hear her kind of laugh a little bit to herself as she takes off.
And I'll head back to the camp. And not mention this ever again.
But yes, do you mention it to anybody?
Nope.
Okay. So, apart from that, let me just roll another d12 to see what the weather does.
It begins to hail.
It pretty much stays the same.
Monsoon.
Just kind of a steady, middle-ish rain. Not heavy, it's not getting any better, not getting any worse, just sort of doing its thing. But yep, you get up the next morning, and unless you decide to do anything else, you will reach the next town in a couple hours.
Hooray!
Do we have to roll? Do we have to roll body and endurance and whatnot?
No, since you're going at a kind of a leisurely pace and you're on the roads, body endurance isn't necessary.
Okay.
But yes, you get to the next town after maybe like 4 hours, and what you see is kind of what you were maybe expecting. The place looks like it's been in shambles. Looks like there's a couple charred houses that had been burned down. There's still like patches of blood, even though it's been raining in the dirt.
It'll be brown by now.
It's brown patches. It's kind of in bad shape. There's broken. There's arrows. There's like smashed doors and whatnot. But as you do approach, you do see a haggard-looking, like not quite elderly, but certainly in his early mid-50s, cattle, who has a like a glaive, and he's kind of kitted out. And initially, he eyes you very suspiciously, and it looks like he's about to yell something, but then sees the children that you're with, and calls to them, and they go up to him and like bow like you would a respected elder.
Go ahead.
He, as is revealed, is the village elder.
Ooh, all right. Tamara will go ahead and approach, and the first thing she'll do is, give a sort of bow between peers, and then offer up the little bottle of rice wine she brought with her as her gift of tribute, and start, just a short little conversation of like, oh yes, how have you been, and all that. Get the pleasantries out of the way.
Sure, his name is Ji Ho, yes, he's a weathered bull, and he kind of, it's sort of like, so other than that, how was the play, Mrs. Lincoln, sort of question. So yeah, he's like, well, we've certainly been in better shape. And he uncorks the rice wine and pours, probably like produces a bowl and just dumps it into it and starts drinking from it and offers it to the kids that returned as well, and they each take a sip from it before offering it to you.
Right, she'll take her sip from it and just sort of pass it along and try to keep the conversation. I hear you've been having a few extra problems with the local. What was it? Fire Fist? I keep forgetting.
The Fire
Every
Strike
time.
gang, he says.
Fire Strike. There we go.
Yes, to put it mildly. We had problems in the past, but they seem aggressive. I honestly don't know what we can do apart from abandoning the village, which we might have to do. There's barely a dozen and a half of us left.
I understand. The straits are quite dire, and I believe the man named Jan the Ugly is the one who's most to blame for this.
He
appears to have taken up a radical element among their gang.
he grits his tooth, his jaw, and then spits in the ground. Yes, that ugly tortoise son of a bitch. I had never saw him before until, well, maybe a month ago. I heard word of him, and ever since then, he demanded 100 bukwon per month in tribute. Or else he'd start, taking people.
Yeah, Tamro Jin just sort of like shivers at the thought of it. It's like, I'm not sure even both villages combined could produce that much.
He kind of nods somberly and says, well, there's nobody really to complain to up this far, so we tried our best to buy ourselves some time, but they brought professionals with them, and this time they hit us so hard I don't know if we can recover.
And I tell you this, your problems will soon be ours if we let them go any further. We must work together to resist. But I'll
Yeah.
tell you this for sure, if we do not make some sort of strike, if we don't gain some sort of headway, we'll be in no position to make any sort of demand of them.
He nods somberly. Yes, I mean, at this point, if they attack us, I know there's probably still about 50 of them left, but they've got some mercenaries with them. There's no way that we can hold them off if they hit us all at once.
I believe maybe there is a method. Perhaps we can divide them up to some degree. Jan is not the most popular among their leadership, and there are those still above him. Perhaps he might be isolated in some way.
It's certainly worth a try. I mean, it's that or we evacuate and come to Yuchin, but I don't know how feasible that would be. It's up to you. I mean, I'm sure
it
you have
comes to
problems
that-
of your own.
Then that will have to be our only option.
He
At
nods
which point we
somberly.
will have to consider a more formidable stand if possible.
Very much so. I know there were some that tried to leave, but I don't know if they ever made it. If we travel together in one group, it'll certainly be a harder target.
So Tamara will kind of look around to her compatriots and see what kind of plans they have. I know Zhu Long has attempted to put up a message that, strong forces are coming, but I fear that might only make them more inclined to violence than to negotiate. But we'll have to see how that plays out.
Well, I mean, it'll set them on a traditional defensive rather than one for a small unit such as us. Basically, they'll be more inclined to fight Imperial forces than a strike team, which might allow us to sneak in and get something done.
Get what done?
As I said, I believe our objective is beyond the ugly. To go even further, to take on the whole gang at once would be suicide.
Right, no,
Simply
that's why I worked to get the information about where specific people were most of the time.
Indeed. Perhaps we could send a message to their higher leadership and hope they say something in return. That would be a bit of chance, I suppose. Maybe not
Well-
the smartest play.
I mean, if you wanted long-term results, we could just attack their supply lines. They're getting in Calabrese goods from somewhere, right? All we need to do is find the dock that they're working from and shut that down.
Well, Jiho basically says, like, we can, as far as where they get supplied from, it's whatever they can get off of the lands in the surrounding area. I know the mercenaries are the ones that have the foreigner arms and armor, but I had sort of hoped that maybe we could whittle them down one by one, but if barring a change in their leadership, that might also be another option. I don't know how Yuchin is fared, but a village of 200, I doubt they'd be able to successfully go to war with that.
Whittle them down
Indeed,
one
though
by
I would not
one.
want to uproot them all at once for such.
You've been reading too many stories about that ram named Bo.
He kind of makes a face at you. It's an idea, okay?
But what do you know of their activities? You said Jan was here not too long ago. Did he seem like he intended to return himself?
Well,
What if it's right?
it was time to pay up, and we, of course, didn't have the money. And so we had spent the past month sort of, I guess you could say, fortifying ourselves. But, a couple dozen elderly people and children, as we barely managed to stave off a squad of them, let alone the mercenaries they brought with. So they collected, 4 children. He looks at the 3 sitting in front of him. I thought there was another one.
Tamara just hangs her head solemnly for a bit, doesn't, shifty eyes towards the tiger or anything.
Apologies. Apparently, we no longer negotiate with terrorists.
He shakes his head like, I knew it would happen. There's some others that they took off as well, but the rest of us who survived the onslaught are in my manor house as best as we can, but I doubt we'd survive another week. If they hit us again, we're done for.
So what must be done?
Well, I do intend to return, but until the time being, if your village is willing, I request that we go down to Yuchin and regroup, as it were.
I would like to do more. It's all more suffering than I can stand, but it seems to be our best choice of options right now.
And as for the original question, well, usually they just were content on stealing, farm animals, and they dealt a lot in drugs, but that seemed to taper off until Jan showed up. I swear he's got somebody backing him. But yeah, that changed things. For a while, it seemed like they were kind of split on what to do, but recently they got more aggressive, and I guess Jan wanted to collect. As for where they hide out, I know it's somewhere up in the mountains. I'm not sure where, though.
We have a few information sources on that ourselves. I think if we put our mind to it, we could find it. But again, walking straight into a lair would perhaps be the wrong choice.
Definitely.
So barring anything exceptional, our best plan of option is of course to do as you say. We should retreat to Yuchin, take everything we can from this village, and I will try to host you there as best as we can for now, until the situation changes again.
And he bows and says, "Truly, yours is your spirit will be worthy of heaven, no doubt. I thank you very much, and I promise you, it will not be forgotten."
As it stands, though, such a plan means that we will be playing a longer game versus Yan, and undoubtedly he will come to Yuchin. But that might be our chance to strike.
He kind of nods. That's true. Although, my guess is he pauses, as I don't want to think about what's happening to my neighbors. But he might be busy for a while. We'll see.
Other neighbors?
Yeah, apart from the four children that they initially captured, they also took some others. But
right,
yeah.
And that would have been at least a day or two ago, wouldn't it?
Right.
We could always try to chase them down and see if we could catch them before they get back to their home, but that seems difficult with the ones we have here.
Right. And of the group, he says there are 16, mostly women and children. There's like 2 men. But he'd prefer not to split the group up in the event that they get ambushed on the road.
Indeed. And I do think my compatriots brought up at least one point before, too. They would have to take the slaves somewhere.
Right.
And perhaps that could be our opportunity to rescue them as well. We would simply have to find more information.
Yep.
So barring, say, the rest of the party deciding they want to do a scouting mission of some kind and actually get that information, then Tamra's plan will be to escort what is left of the village and their belongings and go back to Yuchin.
Okay. What are the other folks doing?
I'm gonna turn to the rest of everybody and suggest we do a scouting mission.
It's apropos of nothing, of course.
Camp.
Well, I am very good at punching people. I am not very good at hiding from people. Just so you know.
Who said that?
Does anyone here other than me have stealth?
I have some, but I also have a huge D12 penalty.
I've got
I
this.
have a D4 to it.
I've got this amazing ability to hide that I call swimming.
It's hiding in the river.
So I'd be the scout.
You're about the scoutiest scout we got.
You know, I think the next gift I'm gonna get is ally, and I'm gonna get us a damn scout already.
I feel like
Maybe that
Lewis
should be our
together
fifth
whole-
member we bring in.
By the way, I have 2 dice in stealth, so I'm not bad at it at all. But
Of course.
Yeah, you can certainly skulk about if you take your time.
Hey, you're better than the average person.
So let's see. Is there any preparation in the village that we need to help with that Jiho needs to handle first?
Well, he will.
And I
He
guess
will-
what kind of group are we looking at too?
Well, upon bringing back the 3 kids, he brings them back to their parents, to their families, and they're overjoyed to see them. They just swear up and down, "Thank you, thank you very much," and they want to give you what little food they have as thanks, and they're just overcome with joy. But beyond that, yeah, the group is mostly women and children and old people. They have bundles of stuff, and so it turns out the dray that you brought back, the man who left with it left about a week ago and didn't return, so he was presumed dead or enslaved. So they're kind of like, "Oh my goodness, that was our neighbor that we thought disappeared, but there's his dray."
Yeah, seems like he's gone now, I suppose.
Yeah,
Another way to look at it.
and they will certainly take the 4th that was not so lucky and do a very, very quick and very short burial. But yeah, they more or less gather up what they can carry and say, "We need to move before it gets too dark."
Right. We shouldn't tarry in the village any longer. And Tamara is ready to leave.
Anything else the group wants to do before you make the journey back?
What was the elder's name again?
Jiho.
Jiho. Any chance that you're a proficient healer?
He says, "Well, I'm just a man of the earth, but I know a few things, a few tricks of the trade."
I am quite badly hurt.
He kind of goes, "Okay, let me take a look at you." So, let me just roll 2d6s. Okay, so he has kind of like a amateur acupuncturist sort of thing where it's like, that part that's bad, and that's so he kind of dresses a
He
little
is
bit.
very low.
Yes, exactly. Your humors are out of balance, I see, but yes, you can take 1 to your healing quota.